Hi, I'm Annette from Nothing Without Us, Stories and Discussions of Meaningful Inclusion. This is part two of my discussion with Sarah Everhart Skeels. Please subscribe to this podcast. It would mean a lot to me to have 100 subscribers. I will celebrate wildly. We are at the 1 year mark at this point. So it is important. Please tell your friends. Your friends can find us on patreon.com/nothingwithoutus. And in the meantime, I hope you enjoy this second part of the discussion with Sarah. I don't know if Kirby's going to show his face again. If he does, he's a love, and everybody should know that he is the super service dog.
People want to say my needs are special, but I don't think my needs are special. I think my needs are what I need.
Oh, I hate
think,
that
and when we
special
want to look
needs
at this
stuff.
idea of special needs and specialness and needs in general, I think we need to look more at the fact that Annette and I have needs that are different from somebody who isn't a wheelchair user. And the needs of people who aren't wheelchair users have been normalized.
Yep.
Our needs haven't, because there aren't as many of us. That's why they're special.
Well, yeah, but when they start talking about special needs, my skin
No, I
crawls.
disagree with it.
Because
I'm just saying,
I
they're
think
not
it's
that
insulting.
special.
I think it's insulting. Well, I think I think you're kind of special, but
I'm not that special.
Not because of your disability. Okay.
Aw, thanks. I think you're special
But,
too. That's just because there's no one like you in the world.
This is true.
She is a unicorn.
But everybody is special in that
That's
regard. And but talking about, people that try to use euphemisms for disability is pretty insulting. It's their way of saying, oh my God, disability makes me uncomfortable. I can't say that word. It's like,
It's not a bad word.
It's
The more
not
you
a bad
say it,
word.
the more you get used to it. And it's able-bodied people who don't say the word. I don't know why. I
Yeah.
think it's really important that all of you who are afraid to use the word disability might want to think about why. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying you might want to think about why you're afraid of using the term. What does that mean to you, and why is it so fearful? To talk around the word takes a lot of energy that's unnecessary. And by that I mean things like differently abled, physically challenged, what's another one? Handy-capable.
Oh God, that was.
Please don't use that around me.
Yeah.
Please don't use that around me.
No.
Handy-capable, whatever this language is,
Yeah.
it's weird because those same people want to tell me what language should be used for me. When I say I'm disabled, you can't say that. Yes, I can.
Yeah.
I don't look at that as a negative. I look at that as a character piece of me, that I also am disabled. It's a part of me. It's not all I am. It's not all you are, but it has a lot to do with who I am. And when I say that I'm a disabled woman, it means that I see myself as someone who is female, who identifies with being a woman, but also identifies as being disabled. And I don't think there's any harm in that.
No.
It's just a part of who I am. That's the thing about identity, right? Like it can be, I look at identity as like, fluid takes on the shape of its container, right? And if you were to try to section off pieces in that container, right? Or like, this is the blue, and this is the red, and this is the purple, and this is the orange, and whatever. On any given day, those pieces may be bigger or smaller, right? Depending on what you're up against. And for me, I am disabled when I come into an environment that I cannot access. Or so for me, that means as a wheelchair user, if there's not a ramp or a flat way to get, or a door that's wide enough, or anything that allows me to access the same thing other people access. Right? That's what's disabling me. Yes. I also I always have an impairment, which is a spinal cord injury, but that's not always disabling. Like right now.
No, we're still doing the same work we'd be doing without the disability.
So we live with an impairment right now, and although we are disabled in some environments, we're not disabled here.
Right.
Because I was able to drive my van here. I was able to park my van here. I was able to let my ramp down. I was able to come in.
Yep.
That's all. That's not asking for a lot. That's just asking for the basic access as anybody else. And when the environment meets my needs, I'm living always with a disabling condition, but I'm not always disabled.
That's right.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. And it does. Well, it makes sense to me, but I've lived with it for longer than you.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, so, but it's, you know, it becomes a normal part of life. There's another time that I often think about how, you know, if people would listen to us, they would be better off. At the end of COVID, you know, where I would keep hearing people say, I can't wait for things to get back to normal.
Yeah.
We don't do this. We just say, okay, this is our new normal.
Right.
Now let's go
a lot of new
forward.
normals. And
A lot of
even
new
nothing
normals.
goes back. Do you really want things to go back?
Look what's
Like, it's
happening when we're
impossible.
trying to go back. Look at, you know, this is,
You can't ever go back. I remember hearing it too. I agree with you. And everybody's like, oh, I know, I've got a new term, new normal. I'm like, the disability community has been using new normal since like 30, 40 years.
Oh,
It
yeah,
is not
right.
new. It is not a new term.
Nope.
And we learn too, as we navigate the world, that there is no normal.
no.
There's no such thing as normal. There
Oh, I
just
thought I
is.
was normal.
They're normal for you.
Yeah, there you go.
There's baseline.
There
I
you
won't
go.
argue that there isn't baseline.
Right.
Everybody's got a baseline. But
Yeah.
normal, I don't know what that means. I really don't. I don't know that
No.
any of us, and I prefer to stay away from words like normal.
Yeah, and I certainly don't want to be ordinary.
No, you will
Yeah.
never be.
No, nor would you.
No. I use the word typical. I don't use normal. I will use typical when I have to.
Well, as a clinical term maybe, or something like
Or like
that.
if I'm like, typic instead of normally, I
Yeah.
will say typically
Yeah,
or historically.
right.
Depending on, like,
Yeah.
I love thinking about language. I think
Oh, yeah.
language is really powerful, and I'm not talking about correcting language, and I'm not talking about PC language, and I'm not talking
Oh,
about
please
I'm
don't.
talking about intentional language.
Right, yeah.
I'm talking about actually saying and using the words you want to use to connect to the thought you have.
Right.
Not some broad generalized word that you're hoping somebody's gonna like understand eventually from your perspective, which they're never going to.
Right.
So you have to use typical, like words like typical. I don't need normal, I don't believe in normal, so I don't use that term.
Right. And I'm offended when people say they're saying something to be politically correct. And they're like, then please don't, because what you're doing is saying it is not worth considering the feelings of the people involved, but I guess if society makes me say it. You know, please don't bother, go away. Politically correct I find offensive when people talk about it.
Well, and I look at political correctness as a way of policing language, but also as, if you think about the process of political correctness, you have to hear something, and then automatically once you hear it, make a determination of good, bad.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking it, and you're like, ooh, I want to say this thing, but is it good or is it bad? And if you think it's bad, you're going to talk around it like, that person is a wheelchair user. I don't know if I should say that. I don't know if I should say that. So I'll say handicapable, without knowing some random word that you now feel better, and that person you're talking to is what? I don't even know what that means. I see it like that, and then you're intentionally, your brain is intentionally replacing the word you've decided is bad with another word or series of words that you have now decided is better. But just use the word.
Right. It's funny. You say this. I've had people actually tell me, well, when we just walked in, oh, can I say that in front of you? Well, you think I don't know that most of the population walks? Of course.
Or that, by the way, I'm sorry, Annette, I'm really sorry to tell you this. I know it's going to be a shocker.
Yes.
But you have to use a wheelchair.
No shit.
Yeah, I know it's a shock. I know it's a shock. Do you really think that people don't understand their circumstances?
Right.
Regardless of what you think, everyone understands their circumstances.
Right.
Everyone.
Yeah.
People know when they're being treated well and respectfully, and we also know when we're not.
Right. And,
we may choose not to do anything about it out of kindness or respect back to you or to them, or I mean saying you, but to the world, or they may just be like, this isn't worth it, I'm not even going to deal. These people don't get me, I don't have the time for this, I'm gonna
Right.
move on.
Right. But I can be a bit of a bitch sometimes, and I will, especially when people are talking down to me or talking down to other people. And I did have a situation recently where someone was referring to one of my employees as a child.
No, that would bother me.
And I'm there.
That's one of my big pet peeves.
He's not a child.
No.
He's not a boy. He's a grown man. And I have expectations that he is going to do his job like a grown man. And, I feel people with disabilities have been demeaned so much. Why are we talking about him like a child?
Mhm. That's eugenics.
Oh,
That all started in eugenics. We don't study eugenics enough. We don't study the eugenics movement. Most of the times when you hear eugenics, you think Nazi Germany. Most people don't understand that came out of here, the good old USA. We started it. The Germans perfected it. And the eugenicists of the time were bummed that the Germans were better at it than the Americans. So this whole thing, this idea of people who process information not typically, who maybe maybe more slowly, maybe just differently. The fact that somehow those people who become adults remain children is just wrong. They're not children.
Right.
They're adults, like you said. I'm tired of hearing, she's like his brain is like a 3-year-old. No, it's not. Their brain is in relation to their age. There is no, how do you know what a 3-year-old or an 8-year-old who would be in this situation would, it's language that was used back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
right. Yep.
Feeble-minded. There were over 63,000 people sterilized in this country during the eugenics movement while they were forcibly sterilized, by the way, thinking that somehow you can breed out disability.
Right.
I've never, and guess what, y'all? You cannot. There is no way you can do. There's no way. What are you going to keep everybody from getting injuries? You're going to keep everybody from getting any kind of illness?
Right.
Like even when you have death with dignity, and there's a new one now, I forget what it's called, people reframing physician assisted suicide of disabled people because our lives aren't valuable, is so, like, I'm not getting into the terminal illness category. I understand all that. However, nobody really knows when they're going to die, and this idea of 6 months, it just gets reclassified and on and on and on. But this idea of adults being children that's old stuff. That's from Of Mice and Men. That's Lenny.
Yeah.
We have got back to, that was 100 years ago, almost.
Yes. Yeah, really.
So let's think about this. This stuff is ingrained in our culture.
Well, we did it with Native Americans where we tried to breed out by intermarriage and stuff. This was done also in Australia too with the Aborigines. It's why they have a value. They have a culture. They have beautiful things that we can, learn from. And sometimes I think, oh, maybe I was born in the wrong generation. It should have been one of them, because they've got so much to give us, and they have contributed greatly, and and it's the same with disability. Mm-hmm. People with disabilities, they used to be institutionalized. Hopefully we won't face that again.
I'm very afraid of that right now.
Yeah, I am too. I think
it's valid to feel that way after the threat to 504.
Yeah, right. Well, let's hope we can defeat that threat.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I think it's really important, this idea of inclusion, of everybody getting along. That idea is a part of being in community. And I think the more those of us with disabilities are out in the community, engaging in the community, showing the community who we are and what we're about, the more our community is going to embrace us and allow us to exist. You know, if the federal government decides that we are no longer worthy of accessibility, I believe that towns are still going to support those of us who are in their community, knowing that we are a part of the community.
Right.
You know, but the more we're out there, the more the community can see us, the more they're aware of, oh wait, I didn't realize all these people were here. I didn't realize that this is actually quite an issue in my community, and I actually believe in it because I think that I believe in the rights of all people, and I believe in the rights of disabled people. Right. And this accessibility piece is only so we can access things. It's not special. It doesn't give us, I don't get a gold card.
No? Oh, you didn't get one of those.
I didn't get one, and I don't have $5 million, so I can't buy.
Oh, well.
But I already am a citizen.
Yeah. Thankfully, huh? Oh,
for now.
Yeah. Anyway.
But anyway, I do think this idea of inclusion is, like Annette said in the very beginning of this, it's everywhere. It's in politics. It's in health. It's in medicine. It's in schools. I can't think of a place where it's not.
Right. Yes, that's true. And we need to be engaged in this inclusivity, and we need to embrace it and understand the richness that it brings us all of us. So I'm going to thank you for coming.
You're welcome. It's nice to be here.
I will do my formal ending.
Oh, you're buying.
But we need to do this again. All right. I think this discussion should be a regular one. And I'm hoping my viewers will tell me in the comments if they want more of these.
Yeah, and if you don't want any, tell her in the comments. Get rid of Sarah.
Never gonna happen. Okay, thanks so much. I do appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you for being here, for having me here.
Well, thank you for listening. I'm Annette from Nothing Without Us. If you like this episode and want to hear more like it, please subscribe, tell me about it in a comment, and leave me a like. Above all, please tell your friends. They can find this podcast at patreon.com, Nothing Without Us, on YouTube, and on Spotify and your favorite audio platform. While the subscriptions are free, you can see my new sub-series, Bitch on Wheels, only on the ally or activist tiers. This sub-series is a little edgier, maybe sarcastic, angry, or humorous, but I'm sure you will enjoy it. So until the next Nothing Without Us, I'm Annette.